Hello and welcome to Hands On with me, Eliot Everton, the show where we get hands-on with various new and emerging artists, designers and makers in their workshops and studios. We will be discussing how their techniques, materials and disciplines have shaped who they are and how they work. Much of the work that goes into a creative project can be overlooked. I wanted to give a real insight into the working minds of new emerging creatives and hopefully learn a thing or two along my way. I'm going to be challenging myself to crafting a bespoke and tailored ring for each guest, incorporating their styles, techniques and personality into my final designs. Today I am joined by fashion knitwear designer Florian Eisele in his London apartment and home studio. He is currently studying in his final year at London College of Fashion, graduating in June. Alongside his studies, he works as a knitwear assistant for KBN Knitwear, but not only that, he has had his work featured in Flannel magazine and Vogue Runway, amongst many other successes. How are you, Florian? Thank you for being a part of this show and letting us into your lovely home.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I never had an interview like this, so we'll see how that goes. I would say.
Glad to have you, yeah.
Yes.
So before we get into it, in a few minutes we're going to go in and learn a few of the processes and techniques. But first, are we able to just see what materials you work with? Maybe talk about some of the yarns you work with?
Yes, I mean, I brought a little selection with me anyway, so once we start knitting you also get more comfortable with how different materials feel. But the main big thing knitters always work with is of course wool. Let's start with cotton, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, so here we have cotton. It's quite a thick twist. It's like plied up, so therefore it's really good for this machine. So this machine is a domestic machine. And
so what's the difference between this kind of machine and say the machine you have over there?
So I would say this is like the most domestic, people who just want to learn how to knit on a more industrial, on a more craft-based skill and not just hand knitting. They would love to go on this machine. You can try out a lot of things, you can be very hands-on, and there are always more adaptations to it, so you can always do new things and more things, but it's never to a high industry standard. And that is then when the dubier or flatbed knitting machines come in. They are made on a specific gauge, so you can work with different fine yarns, and then you create different garments. And then the next stage of it is then fully electronic knitting machines, which are the machines where I worked at KBN Knitwear, and I had an internship there and then learned all the skills of how I would program there, and then started working for them, being a knitwear programmer and knitwear assistant.
So how was your experience there at KBN? They're based in London, right?
Yes, East London, and it was an amazing experience. Like, I learned so many things. It's such a amazing environment being there. You always work with a lot of different clients. I was part on a lot of different projects with different clients, always experiencing a new design identity, and always the process of how people experience yarn, because a lot of people see yarns different, which is a very exciting way.
Nice, it sounds like you learn a lot.
Yeah, definitely. I would say you just learn really how to express yourself, and also you learn how you can communicate as a knitwear designer with the identity of your client.
It's that important about being within the industry and speaking to people in the same sort of mannerisms.
Yeah, it's mannerism, and to collaborate in that sense, or like adapting to other clients' needs.
Should we get straight into it? So what technique are you going to show me today?
I mean, I wanted to show you at first how different yarns interact with each other. I would say we cast on, because otherwise you can't knit. So at first you select your needles you want to knit on, and then you usually can do an E-wrap cast on, which is the basic cast on, very easy. You just wrap the thread around each needle.
Okay.
You have to be quite precise, but the action is always the same. You kind of want to keep it quite loose tension. Do you want to try?
Yeah, okay.
So you just twist it around here and then you go to the next one. So it's always like the long line is at the bottom of the needle and the round line is on top. So it's not, yeah.
So you
I
doubled
did,
up
doubled
on that one.
on that one. Yeah. Right, I'll do it.
So I need to hold back here.
Mm-hmm. And you wrap around and then pull it down. Go to the next one, wrap around and pull it down. Perfect.
So what would you say the average period of time it takes you to make a garment?
It depends on the stitch, it depends on
the
size, if it has a lot of fashioning. So if you look at knitted garments, you either can have them cut and sew, which is the not sustainable way of how to construct knitwear, or you have it fully fashioned, which is the luxurious way of how to make knitwear, or nowadays you can have it even more luxurious, working on digital knitting machines.
So I talked earlier about your stuff that was showing on the Vogue runway.
Mm-hmm.
So for a garment of that size, which was a pair of socks, or like a collection of socks,
Yes.
how long did they take to make?
So it took me 15 hours to make one pair. Pure
15
work
hours.
of hours. Which
Nice.
means, and that wasn't just the making of it, but the whole designing and talking to my collaborator and adapting to his designs and what he wanted to do. That was like out of this time.
So for that project, you worked in a very like collaborative manner.
Yeah, it took like 6 weeks to make this collaboration.
How did it actually come about? How did the opportunity come?
I actually interned for another designer recently. She knew the CSM guy.
So it's
For-
for the CSM final show? Or?
Yeah, it was the CSM MA graduate show. And now you don't need to push out anymore. You can just move over. And that's it. I'll get
Wow,
another weight
That's amazing, actually. That's pretty cool.
just to make it definitely secure. Here. I would say now we created 10 rows. Let's use another yarn. So for tuck, you always select the needles. And the needles which are selected, they're gonna knit, and the other ones they wanna tuck. So let's select those. And we're only tucking in one direction. And then you can see the needles which pushed out, they're gonna knit, and the other ones, if you look closely, they just have this over. So when we push those out, you can see there's a stitch and a float on top.
Okay.
And now if we wanna, we're just gonna select both. Now we can switch it up. So the ones which we pushed out, we're gonna knit those now, and the other one will create different. And that's usually, oh, a knot is in here. Moving this over again.
So
You can
this is
see
only
we can-
pushing half the pins out when you come in.
Yeah, now if you look at it, it creates a different pattern.
Oh,
Creates
nice.
a new technique. So I think that's usually like a fisherman's.
So it's like the arrangement of pins.
Yes. So it just distorts the knit in that sense. So now we're gonna push these ones out. Wait, I'm gonna do the next one. You're gonna do the next two. Yeah.
So I'm pushing these pins out. Am I doing like every other pin?
Yeah, that's
Like that?
right.
Yeah?
Yes. And push
And
these
then
two out as well.
Just that one or
Mm,
those two?
Just these two.
Oh, you can
Perfect.
try and line it up anyways.
Yes.
And then you move this across?
Yes. Cool.
And then again?
Yes, but this time the other ones. Not this
Like
one.
that, yeah?
Not the edge one, the one behind. Yes.
So you're alternating.
I'm altering it by one. Push it over. Perfect. Now you can
Nice.
see we created this kind of stitch, and especially once we relax it, it creates more of a cross.
It's
And-
very like fulfilling actually. Like you see it like kind of steadily getting more and more.
Yes, and also now if you look, first of all it extended the stitch, but also if you look exactly to it, now we only have 5 stitches for 10 rows we made.
Okay.
So it kind of reduced the amount of stitches, and especially the finer you go, this tucking technique makes the knit a lot wider because you kind of create more floats in that direction. So once we take it off, you'll see how
Okay.
that will look.
wanted to talk about your time at London College of Fashion. So like how you found it being there. Was it helpful to your career? Do you think you found most of your opportunities through that? And like what was the atmosphere like?
I would say, I mean, definitely with the COVID experience, it has been quite hard for everyone, I would say, and with a lot of these opportunities came, I would say, through my own direction. And if you're really ambitious about specific things, you will find your way and things come to you. You're forced to be independent in London, and you can't expect from a course to give you everything. They give you the basic structure, and if you're interested into something, they will teach you or give you new opportunities, or just having a quick chat with technicians will give you so much more experience.
It's just about having that
knowledge.
Behind the scenes support as you kind of venture into whatever your creative discipline is, I guess.
Yeah, I would say a university is a facility, and it gives you the materials to learn something, but you have to do it.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. It's kind of just giving you that stepping stone, that
Yes.
kind of accessibility to the kind of
Exactly.
craft and art world, I guess.
Yeah.
Growing up, were you very creative? Was your like parents were they pushing for you to go into the creative role, or?
They definitely wouldn't push me because it would be way too hard, but I was always very creative and my parents were supportive in that sense, so they gave me an opportunity, and I was very direct and very concentrated about the things I wanted to have. And I was really good in maths and physics and all these things, and I think it's still showing through a little bit with the knitting.
Yeah.
But I want to go into an industry where I can always learn new things and explore new ideas and never feel bored, because
So it's kind of that endless possibilities that kind of led you down this route of doing
exactly.
knitwear.
I was mainly interested in fashion at first, so I was really, I just want to do fashion. I
What
discovered that.
inspired knitwear? You just found it through doing fashion?
Yeah, so I came to London with 17 and quit my
From Munich, Germany,
from
right?
Munich, Germany, yes, and did my A-levels in a year, and it was like fashion and art based,
Okay.
like high school, and there they had a knitting machine and they taught us the complete basics. They didn't even teach it, they literally showed us the techniques what I just showed you. Cast on, have the tension, doing a tuck, and that was it. And then
So
they
these are the very like core basics to knitting, would you say?
I would just say you learn what the machine can do. Like you just learn the buttons, I would say, but
Okay.
what you do with the buttons you then have to discover yourself. You can create different patterns. You can, for example, create this pattern just in one area, not in another. You can create artworks with it. You can create it more moving. You can create parts with elastic, which pulls much more in than cotton. You can create it with cotton and wool, and then you wash it, and then the wool felts, and then it suddenly becomes completely different again.
It's nice to see that you're being very like playful with the material and kind of letting the material be a form of kind of exploration. You kind of let it see where it can go and try out its possibilities.
Yeah, I think like a skill from any knitwear or fashion textiles knit person is understanding the fiber down to its core. Like there are a lot of different courses with Woolmark Performance Challenge or so, which really teach you how fibers are made, how the fashion industry really works, and coming from a knitwear base where you really work with all these raw materials to create your fabric on the first stage and then create the garment, it gives you the full understanding about how the fashion industry actually works.
Yeah. I know you're about to graduate in June/July time.
Yeah, the deadline is in June and July is the graduation, let's say, yeah.
So are you able to discuss any of the work that you're kind of currently working on, or are you keeping that kind of disclosed until it's out there?
I mean, I can discuss about it, give you a little sneak peek, I would say.
Yeah, go on.
But yeah, we love it. My current project, so I did the collaboration, which was part of my final project, but that's already out and finished, and it will just be part of my
which collaboration is that?
The socks.
The socks for the Vogue runways.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
literally have them here as well, so I can show you
That'd
them
be
afterwards.
excellent, yeah.
So I'm still in contact with the collaborator and helping him getting all the garments to stylists, and we're still having a close connection, and it was just such a lovely experience as well. Collaborations always bring out friendships as well, I would say.
I think it's the key to kind of going further in the creative sector, isn't it?
Yes.
Like collaboration's very important, I feel.
Yes, no, they make the community, I would say.
Yeah.
And bring out new ideas.
Yeah, it makes it a pleasant place to work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So going forward after you graduate, have you got any future plans, aims, goals?
I would say I really focus on my project now. My project is about capturing a specific mood and being very explorative and just showing my skill sets, because in my opinion that's what most brands, or if you want to go into industry, that's what you really have to show, your skill sets, the environments you can work in, and the main focus of course being creative, but the creative industry afterwards is still dominated by business, and so you kind of have to have this technical skills and maybe already some soft skills through internships and learning how to work in different environments, either in a knitwear studio, trend studio, or if you go as a knitwear designer in specific companies where you don't know how garments are being constructed. So it's a lot about sourcing the yarn and then how specific silhouettes of traditional knitwear, I would say in that sense, is being made and then twisted up to the brand's identity.
Yeah, this is something that I feel can a lot of the time just be overlooked. The amount of like work that actually goes into making a garment. There's so many different things you have to be considerate to and actually have the technical knowledge to be able to pull off.
Especially knitting is a lot of steps. With knitting, you always have to start with the real material straight away. So you don't have the possibility to test out a lot of things again. It's straight away with the precious material. So
yeah,
there's a reason for it why cashmere jumpers are that expensive.
So I think we're coming up to the end of our time now. So thank you for coming on to the show and being a part of this.
Of course.
So this is kind of just your time to kind of promote your stuff. So if you want to say anything, or if you want to promote anything or do anything, now is your time. So where can kind of the people find you?
Yeah, so my Instagram is the Knit Flow, and there you can always see what I'm currently doing. I always have some nice pictures to share. On my story I always post kind of the projects I'm currently working on, giving you a few sneak peeks. And yeah, in July the graduate showcase will be of BA London College of Fashion, where you can see hopefully some of my things, but I'm optimistic. And I also have a video coming out soon, so I'll hope you'll be excited for that one. But yeah,
Very
we'll be
nice.
soon.
Thank you, Flo.
You're welcome.